Awesome. All right, we're both doing it. Look at that.
Amazing.
Yes, technology is just wonderful. Okay, let me welcome everyone. Welcome to Talk to Me Africa. This is a show where I talk about anything, everything, and give it a little bit of African touch because that's basically where my audience is from. And I just love to take things back to my community and give them some authentic information. Today, I have a unique guest on the show. Unique because her topic is very unique. It's out there, but it's, I would say, ignored. People don't look at it a lot and think it's something you can talk about. Feminine energy. Wow. I think I have that. And sometimes people say I have a masculine energy, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's start. Let me welcome Kelly Macaulay to Talk to Me Africa. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I think it's going to be a good one.
Me too. Let me introduce you to my audience. Kelly Macaulay is a feminine energetics mentor, a Reiki master and teacher, ordained metaphysical minister. I want to hear more about that. And international best-selling author of Embracing Your Feminine Energy, a guide to reconnecting with your natural power. I printed your ebook and I have read it. It is so simply written. When I first saw the topic, feminine energy, I'm like, what is that about? But reading your book, it just breaks it down so well. And I have a copy with me. I love it. Thank you for putting
Perfect.
that out to the world. Anyway, welcome again to Talk to Me Africa, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get into the meat of today's conversation, let me ask you to tell us about a fun fact about Kelly.
Fun fact.
Fun
Okay.
fact.
Um, oh my goodness. Fun fact would probably be that um, I do so many different things that it's really difficult
Mm,
to kind of encompass everything in one. So in addition to what you mentioned,
mhm.
I'm also a certified hypnotherapist, and I have a long-term husband. It's been almost 30 years.
I like that long-term husband because marriages are so short-lived these days.
I know, I know, I know. And two boys in their 20s.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
So you're the
yeah.
queen amongst all these men. Do they really see your feminine energy around them? How do you
Oh, they
impose your
do.
energy?
I impose. I'm very masculine with my feminine.
I like that.
You know what? I
Wow.
think that's why I got, well, part of why I got into it, because I'm the only female here,
Yeah.
so my house is just like this bevy of testosterone. So it's really easy to get sucked into the masculine because that's what
Yeah.
you're surrounded by,
Mhm. So
you
do they
know?
listen to you, when you try to dominate yourself?
Oh yeah.
That's good. That's good. So what is this feminine energy that you bring to your family and to the world? What is
So
feminine energy?
feminine energy is the natural energetic gifts that we are born with. They are our God-given gifts
Mm-hmm.
that allow us to do what we do as women
Mm-hmm.
and do it effectively.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty is our current society, especially when you get into business,
Mm-hmm.
corporate, that sort of thing, is very masculine driven. Our society is very patriarchal, not as bad as it was, but it still is.
Mm-hmm.
And we are trying to act like the men that we work with
Hmm.
instead of using what I call our superpowers
Yeah.
that we just naturally have.
Yeah. So why is this feminine energy important? If we are in a society which is masculine driven and it makes it very competitive, and the woman now feels some difficulty getting into this male driven space, why is it important to then have this feminine energy? I would think, let me be, masculine as well so I can compete and compare and get into their space. Why is it important for me to have and exhibit my feminine energy amongst men?
It's important because it's not natural to us
Mm,
and we struggle and we we know it's not natural to us.
hmm
So when you're looking at the masculine right now, You're looking at, you know, working the long hours, the hustle. The more you work, the better you are, right? Independence,
Mm-hmm.
you know, work focusing on yourself, no
Mm-hmm.
one else. You know, it's all about that. Whereas as women,
Mm-hmm.
we do far better in teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
collaborating with others, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are not, we're driven, but in a different way. So we can use the feminine energy that we naturally have to still succeed
Mm-hmm.
and still meet those goals. We're just not burning out because we're trying to be something we aren't.
So if you stay within your feminine energy realm, you're going to avoid the burnout.
Yeah, exactly. I work with women who are on the verge of burnout or have burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
And by using your feminine, it gives you the ability to set boundaries and work in the way that is most comfortable for you
Mm-hmm.
and allows you to be successful without being drained. Now, don't get me wrong, we have to have masculine and feminine. There has to be both.
Good.
There,
That's my next question. Like masculine energy exists. Do we have that in the men? And are they allowed or expected to also exhibit that? Is that okay?
yeah, absolutely. Masculine is what gets stuff done, right? So, as a business owner or as someone that works in corporate, things have to get done. They do, right? But it's a matter of how you do them and what happens when they're done. So, masculine is about pushing, feminine is about receiving. So, there's subtle differences between the two,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody has both,
Mm-hmm. I like
right?
that.
Yeah. So, in
Yeah.
women, you'll see, just visualize on television, you
Mm-hmm.
see, you know, downtown New York City, high experience lawyer. She's got her suit on and her heels and her designer bag, and she's walking with purpose. And right, that is her combination of both. She's walking with purpose. She knows where she's going. She knows what she has to do,
Mm-hmm.
but she's feeling good about herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's feeling confident.
Mm-hmm.
She's sure of herself. Just like when you see a man who is at the playground playing with his kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or allowing his daughter to paint his nails because she
Mm-hmm.
wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Men have their feminine and
Mm-hmm.
women have their masculine. But when
Mm-hmm.
you become anchored too much into one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
that causes issues.
I was going to go there because I don't know if this taps into people who would say, oh, you're not just a man, you're trying to be a woman because you're painting your nails and you're doing things like that. So where does the boundary start or end where a man is just trying to show the soft spot of his feminine side, maybe towards his little girl, by letting her painting his nails without sending out the wrong message? Where do we draw that boundary?
You know what? Everyone's going to have different boundaries. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be your comfort level,
Yeah.
right? I mean, honestly, uh, culture is getting a lot more open now with
Mm-hmm.
these things. So to see a woman dressed, you know, in a ball cap and flannels and whatever is perfectly normal.
Yes.
And to see a man, you know, you see even corporate men walking down the street with bags, right? Like the whole, well, what they call it a merce, the whole man purse thing. It's a thing
I didn't know
because they're
about the
just so
mercy thing.
handy,
Hmm.
you know. You know, so it varies
Mhm,
depending on area, culture,
mhm,
background,
mhm,
um, as well as when,
mhm.
right? Like the younger people are much more in tune with this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Now, I mean, most African countries are patriarchal, and
Mhm.
so the feminine energy is mostly non-existent. The men have to lead, they make the decisions. And when it comes to things that concern women, I feel like the man decides for the woman in most African cultures. So it's a space where I don't know how to let the women know that it's okay for you to exhibit your own energy where the men are also doing so. But even if it's okay, they are culturally raised to just stay back,
Mhm.
right? So the feminine energy is meant to be subtle. Don't talk much. Don't raise your voice. But I'm hearing you say that we have both. And it's okay to see a woman walk on the street with that hat and that flannel shirt. And that's still, even though she comes across as exhibiting a male masculine energy, she is still female and subtle. So if you had to talk to that woman from my community who doesn't know how to project her feminine energy amongst men, where she is mostly directed to the back burner and to shut up, what will you tell her?
Two things. One, it's going to be something that you and your partner have to discuss
Mm-hmm,
um, to express how you're feeling and
mm-hmm,
that you want to take a larger part in this.
mm-hmm,
Second, I've always been told the, the man is the head, the
mm-hmm.
woman is the neck,
Yeah.
and the neck controls where the head goes,
Okay.
right? So,
I was told the man is a head, the woman is a tail. So the head leads you. Now, I like what you're saying. So the neck then holds the head up. Without the
exactly,
woman, you really cannot stand up tall and be your masculine self.
right. And you can't turn your head without using your
Cannot.
neck,
Can't achieve. Yeah. Can't
right? If the
succeed.
neck isn't moving, the head's not going anywhere. So you're the women of an African culture, they're using it. They just don't know they're using it.
Mm. And I tell you, there are women in the African culture who are very feminine, yet very teamwork driven,
Hmm.
very achieving. But when
Hmm.
it comes to certain areas, they go back. I'll give an example, farm work, which is very physical, right? I saw my mother do it. I saw my grandmother do it growing up. They go to the farm, they till the soil, they do the planting. You know what the men will do? They'll clear the grass if necessary for the woman to till the soil. Which work is harder? The soil tilling for sure.
Hmm.
But when it comes to deciding on certain things, then they don't let them speak because you are just a woman. But they are strong and they do a lot for their community. They do a lot.
Right.
So I just hope that somebody in my African community is going to grab this and say, hey, I have the energy that I have. I can use it physically, but can I also use it in a space mentally? Because that mental space, that's where the feminine energy seems to be not allowed to function as much as it is allowed for the male energy to function. I wish you can get to
Mm.
that someday. Now, let's talk about the Reiki master. I did not know that this existed until I got you and I looked you up and I looked at your book. I'm like, what? And I saw a video. Somebody said the Reiki energy comes from around the body. So it already exists in you, but the master brings it out. Talk about this Reiki energy.
Yeah, I like the way that's worded. So Reiki is a
Is it Reiki
Japanese
or Reiki?
Reiki.
Reiki. Okay.
Hmm. Although, I mean, all different people say it different
Yeah.
ways. So
Yes.
we all know what it means if you know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, it is a Japanese method of hands-on energy healing. It
Mm-hmm.
was developed in the 1800s
Mm-hmm.
and by someone named Yasui, Dr. Yasui.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole aspect of it is the energy practitioner, so the Reiki practitioner
Mm-hmm.
will take the energy from around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as science has said, everything around us is made up of energy,
Yeah.
right? So, what they do is channel the energy that's around them through themselves and out their hands into the receiver,
Mm-hmm.
into the client. The whole concept is your body knows what it needs. Okay. Your body rebuilds itself every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Your skin cells slough off and new ones come. Your liver rebuilds itself. Your blood cells, like it's constantly rebuilding itself. So the concept behind Reiki is that the individual body knows where it needs assistance. You don't have to know. The body will know. So, you might have a sore knee, but it's because your hip's out of line. So treating the knee is not really going to help. So when it comes to something like Reiki, it's put into the body. So it flows through the Reiki practitioner into the receiver, and then their body will use that energy exactly where it needs it.
Mm.
And people will find pain relief, relaxation, illnesses will ease up a little bit, things like that. So it will help that individual heal naturally, and their body will do what it needs to do. But the beautiful thing about Reiki is it's not just physical, but it's also spiritual and emotional and mental. So right now, in the US specifically, because that's where most of the studies are done, there are a lot of hospitals there that have Reiki practitioners on staff, and they work with patients who are suffering from cancer,
Mhm.
because the cancer patients find that after a Reiki session, the nausea has calmed down and they can actually sleep, which they haven't been able to do in quite a while. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Oz.
Yes, I am. Mhm.
His wife is a Reiki master,
Oh.
and she would go into the surgeries with him and perform Reiki on the individual to help them get through the surgery easier and recover quicker.
So the Reiki works hand in hand with modern medicine, or can they work separate
It works separate and together,
and together?
right? Like
Okay,
a Reiki
so
master cannot diagnose,
okay,
right? Like we cannot we're not medical professionals. We do
yeah,
not diagnose. We
okay.
don't prescribe, but it supports traditional medicine, and
Hmm.
in some cases can be used instead of, but always under the advice of your physician.
Okay, so it can be used instead of. Now, if it's energy based, spiritual based, right? So there has to be some sort of belief for it to work. If I come to you and I just say, oh, honestly, this is something that can work, and I don't put myself in that space, do you get cases where they're like, I didn't get any relief because I don't believe it? Does
No,
it go hand in hand with belief?
no,
Okay.
no, you don't have to believe it. I mean, it's going to work better if you believe in it because you're open to receive,
Yeah. They're
right?
open. I like that. You're open to receive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So,
I've done it on people, and I remember when I was first starting out, I had to do case studies,
mhm,
and I was working on a friend of mine who had never had any experience and wasn't particularly, she wasn't blocked, but she also wasn't open to it.
mhm,
And your hands tend to get hot when it's happening because of the energy coming through you.
mhm.
And I remember afterwards, she said to me, she's like, "Did you have like a hot towel or something?" I said, "No, no, that was just me." And her just mind blown,
Wow.
right? And from that moment on, she's like, "Oh, okay, wait a minute. So maybe there is something here."
There should be something there because I think I'll be a candidate. You know why? Because I don't take medications. Like if I have to means I'm about to die. Okay, like a week ago or so, I noticed my right arm was very painful. And I noticed that at work, these big, large office doors, you have to pull it to open it when they don't have the automatic door openers. And I realized I couldn't pull a door. I'm like, what's wrong with my arm? It went on for like a couple of days, and I don't take Tylenol or whatever. I'm like, something is wrong. It's just gonna work by itself,
Mhm.
right? And I'm in a household where people believe in me. Oh, take Tylenol. I'm like, no, 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 no. Just I don't know what's wrong, but give it a day or two. By the third day, I don't feel anything else. So that's how I live most of my life. I'm like, it's just a little pain and there's a misalignment somewhere. I'll be okay. And so that always makes me to take time off, time out, and just say, I kind of focus my mind on that area, like this arm, there's something not right. So my question to you is there a correlation between Reiki and meditation?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'm going to say yes, only because when you're receiving Reiki, whether you want
Hmm.
to or not, you usually go into a more meditative state.
Hmm.
I'm going to say about 85% of my clients fall asleep
Wow.
because they're so relaxed, right? Because the brain waves are lowering down. You're getting out of beta, you're going down into alpha, and then you're going down, right?
Yes.
And that is the same brainwave that is used in meditation.
Yes.
So most Reiki practitioners do meditate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to meditate to receive it,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do, it just makes you that much more open to
Mm-hmm.
receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
And you are using energy healing when you're looking at your shoulder and you're looking internally at it and feeling where it is and what's wrong and
Mm-hmm.
what does it need, right? It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of the same idea.
Yeah.
It's just that Reiki will focus the energy differently
Mm-hmm.
and you're giving it to someone else, but you can also give it to
To
yourself.
yourself.
Hmm.
I love this because I'm one person who is really not in tune with a lot of taking some medications into your body unless you really, really need to. That's why
Hmm.
I like to understand, and like you just told me that you can work, they can work independently or work together, like, what Dr. Oz and his wife are
Hmm.
doing. I did see on your website that you have different levels
Hmm.
of the Reiki. Can you give us a couple examples?
Yeah, so Reiki level 1 is the
Mhm.
intro course. So that is basically learning about the whole thing, being attuned to the level 1 energy, and it gives you the ability to give yourself Reiki. So, for
Mhm.
example, when your shoulder was sore, you
Yeah.
could have used it and, sat there in the quiet or some soft music going, close
Hmm.
your eyes and just kind of, give yourself some Reiki
Hmm.
to make it feel better. It's also
Yeah.
great for headaches too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also work on other people, but not for money,
Hmm.
and pets.
And pets.
And pets, animals. Yeah. Any animal,
Wow.
actually, but usually it's pets that people are interested in. Yeah. I had a dog that lived to be 18
In dog years or in human years?
human years. So that was what, like 120 in
In dog
people years.
years. Yeah.
Um, and whenever she wasn't feeling well, I would put her in my lap and give her Reiki. And then she would feel better again, right? Um, so anyways, that's level 1. So that's like the beginner intro level. So when
Hmm.
you're done, you're able to do it, but you haven't quite gotten enough practice
Hmm.
to really be intuitive with it. That
Hmm.
comes with practice.
Hmm.
Um, Level 2 is to at a distance, because it can travel time and space,
Hmm.
and you are able to then charge for it and start a practice.
Hmm.
And level 2 also will get into things like ethics, liability, the legal stuff. And then the last level is the master teacher level. And with that, you are able to teach others
Others, yeah.
and you have reached the maximum that you can in it. There is nothing higher.
I like that.
Mhm.
I'm curious about meditation and also about, the spiritual healing. I started meditating a few years back. Yeah, I think it does really put you in a space where you feel like you're not part of your environment because your mind seems to travel. But then noise will interrupt. I'm like, where am I? Then I come back. But before I started, I had this fear of, am I going to leave my body and go somewhere else? What if I don't come back? But it's a beautiful thing to do. I can imagine it's the same when you do Reiki with people. They seem to not be there. Like your friend said, did you use some hot stuff? But no, it's just the energy that transmits and
Mhm.
make you feel that way. Wow. Now, chakras is what I also saw on your website.
Mhm.
What is that? There's so many of these terms that I get lost, like meditation, Reiki, chakras, and like, just
Yeah,
help
and they're
me.
all intertwined.
They're all intertwined, seems like. So what is the
Mhm.
difference?
So actually, chakras are a big part of Reiki.
Okay.
So the chakras, there's 7 main chakras. It's the energetic meridian in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So like acupuncture, right? That's done on different energy points on the energy grid, on the energy meridian.
Mm-hmm.
The main chakra, the 7 main chakras are
Yeah, I
going to
know the
run
seven.
from the base of your spine to the
Yeah.
top of your head.
Mm-hmm.
And each one represents a different meaning, has different physical and emotional attributes,
Mm-hmm.
and corresponds with a different color.
Mm-hmm.
So in Reiki, it is about using that energy to balance the
Hmm.
chakras,
Yeah.
not just independently, but also to each other, so
Hmm.
that that individual's energy is moving well, right? So I always say it's kind of like if you have a drain that has a clog, if energy can get up
Hmm.
and then it stops, or energy can get down and then
Hmm.
it stops.
Yeah.
And that's when different things will happen,
Hmm.
like different negative things,
Hmm.
illness, pain, whatever. By
Hmm.
keeping it clear, you're keeping your drain wide open.
Mm.
So the energy is able to flow the way that it needs to keep you
Mm.
healthy.
Wow. Yeah, good morning to Deirdre and Princess Apande who are watching. If you have a question, please ask my guest here, Kelly. I don't know what's wrong with my internet on my phone. It's not telling me exactly if anybody has said anything besides saying good morning. I hope I can get some questions for you before we leave here today. I did read on your website that our through Reiki, our physical, mental, emotional, and energetic body transitions into a state of healing.
Mhm.
And this is possible by connecting to the universal life force energy. So that means everything that we do, even if I take some tablets for headache, I have to be in a state of accepting that medication for that to heal me. My
Absolutely.
body has to be willing to take it in before it works.
Yeah, that's why placebo effect
Placebo
exists.
effect. Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that idea of the placebo effect. And when I think about it, I go, how can the body and the mind be so powerful that we just cannot heal ourselves without going to the other surgeries and medication and all that stuff? So we can do it.
Absolutely.
We can do it. And with people like you who can direct our mind and our energy, and we also have to put some effort into connecting with that universal force, like you say on the website, then we can really do it.
Mm. Yeah,
This is
yeah.
mind-blowing to me, Kelly, what you do. And helping people bring that out in them is just amazing, for lack of a better word. It's amazing. Now, I scanned through your Facebook and I did see a lot of things that you post
Mhm.
regarding Reiki and a lot others. There's a question you ask on there. You say, how often do you listen to your intuition as a woman? And you had three choices for an answer. Always, it's my go-to guide. Second answer is sometimes, but I often second guess myself. And the third is rarely. I tend to rely on logic and reasoning more. And I'm like, what do I do in this case? Now, I think for me, it is sometimes. Now, is it a bad thing to say rarely? I tend to rely on logic. So if you're a woman, you have this feminine energy. Is it a bad thing to say, I rely on logic, even though my intuition is saying A or B or C?
Intuition is a large part of feminine energy,
Mhm.
and the more you use it, the better it gets.
Right, right.
So people that don't use it and tend
Mhm.
to anchor more into a logic,
Mhm.
they they lose the, I don't want to say they lose the ability to, it's not as effective for them. Whereas when you really start looking at your intuition and listening to your intuition,
Mhm.
it becomes easier,
Yeah.
right? Like I use it all the time,
Mhm.
all the
Is your
time.
intuition always right? People always listen.
Yes,
Is it always right? It is always right.
always right.
Wow.
Mhm.
What is it? Intuition.
Intuition is your inner knowing. Some people will say that, their inside voice is telling them
That
something.
tiny little voice talking to you.
Exactly. Some people will, like myself, for example, I'll get a feeling in my stomach,
Mhm.
almost like a butterfly sort of thing. And sometimes it's just a feeling. So, for example, I used to commute an hour back and forth to work on the highway.
Mhm.
And I always, like I said, always listen to my intuition. And I remember the one day I got into my car and just something in me said, you know what? Let's go the back route today.
Mhm.
And like some people would say, no, you know what? This is my regular routine. I'm taking the highway.
Mhm.
It's always worked for me. Why do I need to change it?
Mhm.
Someone that listens to their intuition will be, okay,
Mhm.
it's Someone's telling me this for a reason. I
Mhm.
also say it's my guardian angels,
Guardian angel.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I got in my car and took the country roads. So I was kind of traveling, like 10 kilometers
Mhm.
over from where the highway is. And I hear on the radio that there had been an accident on the highway
Okay.
right when I would have been there. So it might not have been that I would have been in it, but it might have been that I was going to be stuck on the highway for 2 hours, but while they cleaned everything up,
Mhm.
right? But for some reason, something said, don't go that way, go the back way.
Mhm.
So the way that would normally take me 15 minutes longer probably saved me a couple hours.
Mhm.
So it's little things. It
Little
doesn't even have to
things.
be big things. It's just little things like that.
Mhm.
And you learn to listen and, it just works.
So when you don't listen to your intuition, is it like a deviation from the norm, from what you usually do? Because in this example that you gave, this is a route you're used to taking, and something says go the other route. And somebody will be like, oh no, this is my usual, so I'm going to keep it. So is it like a deviation from what you usually do? But that is a good deviation because something is telling you that that regular lifestyle of yours is not a good day for you to do that today.
That's one of the ways. It can be different things. It can be modifying something, or it can be trying something new, or changing the way you do something.
Mhm.
Um, it can also just be feeling what other people are feeling,
Yes.
right? Like your into when your kid is sick, when your child is sick,
Yeah.
mother's intuition, way better than any doctor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily changing what you're doing, but
Mm-hmm.
it shows up in so many different
In
ways.
many ways, yeah. Like Deirdre is asking online, how does the intuition know? Um, yeah, how does the intuition know she's saying? Oh, yeah.
So
Is it how do you know?
yeah, well, how do you know anything really?
Yeah.
Um, like I said, it is the voice in your
It's
head.
the voice. Like see, we know cases where you have a group of friends and then they bring a new friend and you are like, mm-mm. There's something about
Yes,
this friend and you keep hanging out with them every day, but you just tell yourself there's something not right. Or you're dating somebody and you seem to like that person, but there's somebody outside who seems to know that there's something not right, but I cannot put my finger on it. But so it's intuition an outside thing. Can you see for me what I don't see if I'm dating the wrong person? And you tell me there is something about this person that you just don't feel right about, but I don't see it. So can it be an external force,
yes,
intuition?
yeah, absolutely. And your example's a really good one, because there have been times where, and I don't, it's funny because I always say, I don't know why, it's my
Mhm.
intuition, but I'll meet somebody and it's just like, there's just something. You
Mhm.
don't know what it is, but there's just something.
Mhm.
And it could be a friend's partner, it could be a child's friend,
Mhm.
it could be anything like that. And it's
Mhm.
funny because you'll find a lot of times when there are people who
Mhm.
are not the nicest people in
Mhm.
society, people will say, I always thought there was something weird there,
Yeah.
or he always seemed a little off,
Mhm.
right? Like their intuition was telling them,
Mhm.
but they weren't listening.
Yeah. So intuition can be sudden or it can take time to build up.
Exactly.
Right? And is intuition always pointing us towards something bad? Can it also be something good? Can it be like, oh, because in the cases that we've talked about, you going the other way and there was an accident and me saying you could be dating somebody and there's something wrong. Can it also be something good that is
Yeah.
about to happen? Okay, not
Oh,
necessarily
absolutely.
negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, another example, I was driving home from visiting my son when he was in university, and I missed my exit, which I never do. But I'm like, okay, where are we going?
Where are we going?
Let's
Yeah.
we're just, so I took the next exit and I went through just because I'm like, okay, there's a reason I'm going this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I came through the nicest area with farms and, just it was beautiful. And I wouldn't have seen that otherwise.
Yeah.
So it was
So I
just
guess
kind of
we
like,
have to learn to see the beauty or the ugly in intuition.
mhm.
And is
Yeah,
that what Deirdre is saying online? Is that the sixth sense that people say? Is that the sixth
yes,
sense?
that is
Okay.
exactly the sixth sense.
All right. That's great. Now, in today's world where there's so much talk about gender equality and blah, 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 why is it important for us to have that distinction between feminine and masculine energy?
Because genders are equal, but equal doesn't mean identical,
Mm.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
each have our strengths, we each have
Mm-hmm.
our weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a matter of using your strengths
Mm-hmm.
to make life as easy as possible for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if something's not a strength for you and it is for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
then you allow them to use it.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And so how can a female assess herself to determine if her feminine energy is out of place? How do I know if there's something wrong with my feminine energy? How do I evaluate myself to make sure I'm always in tune with my feminine energy, my feminine self?
So, a lot of times, what will happen is people that are anchored more into the masculine will show physical and emotional responses.
Mm-hmm.
So, emotional exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're just trying to do too much and over too long. There's going to be unhappiness.
Yeah.
And
So you see a shift in your
exactly.
body, and only you can tell.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe a master like you who works with a client like me can tell that there has been a shift in my feminine energy. So I need to rebalance to get things going the right direction.
Exactly. Exactly. When I work with people, it's a matter of seeing where they are now
Mm-hmm.
and where they want to be and how can they get there in the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Work smarter, not harder.
Not harder. Yeah. Yeah. In your book, which is called Embracing Your Feminine Energy, a guide to reconnecting with your natural power, you do say that feminine energy is creative, receptive, and intuitive force that flows through all living things,
Mhm.
right? You say it's the energy of being rather than doing,
Right.
energy of flowing rather than forcing, creating rather than competing. Now, this got me a little bit thinking, creating and not competing. Is it wrong to compete? I want to
It's
do
not
better.
wrong to compete.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with feminine or masculine energy.
Mm.
They're just different.
It's just different.
Yeah. There isn't that there's one that's right and one that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They're just two different things, two different ways of being,
Mm-hmm.
ways of acting. So I'm competitive,
Yeah.
but I know when I'm being competitive, I'm in my masculine energy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So to not spend too much time there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really competitive actually.
So does it come across in a physical way as well? Because you could be competitive when you have a business and you want to grow it and you want to make sure that you're at this next level. And somebody could be exhibiting that energy by acting it physically. Does it come across in a physical way as well? Or is just a feminine energy that is being competitive but not overtly energetic?
It can come across in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at specifically competitiveness, there's a difference between competitiveness and
Mm-hmm.
cutthroat,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can
Okay.
be competitive, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see, the woman over here succeed,
Succeed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's um, my intention to help her succeed. That
Mm-hmm.
is the feminine in me. But that doesn't make it any less important for me to succeed. And
Wow.
that's my masculine, right? So it's the balance.
So I'm looking at your book that I did get online. Very good. I just opened up to the self-assessment where you say we should practice that. And you say rate yourself from 1 to 5 on each area. 1 strongly agree, and then 5 will be strongly 1 strongly disagree, and 5 strongly agree. So I often feel guilty when resting. I want people online to say if you agree or disagree with this, because I do see I have 2 females online, and oh wow, as a woman, I often feel guilty when resting. Women do feel guilty when resting. Why?
Mhm. Because we put too much pressure on
We
ourselves.
do. We
Yeah,
do. I
yeah.
have trouble trusting my intuition. And they say women have the best intuition, but why don't we trust it? Because of
Because
science,
society
society.
society has said that, it's only what is in front of you that you is tactile, what you can see, what you can taste, what you can smell, what you can hear,
Yeah.
right? So when it's something that isn't, then they don't
You're
necessarily,
right.
you know,
They don't mesh. I
yeah,
find it hard to receive help or compliments. This is one thing that as a woman, it touches me, because we are in a space where women don't give other women a lot of compliment a lot of times. And when men give it to women, today it's like you're harassing them. Online, she just said that you look beautiful. And I appreciate you for saying that, Jada. Thank you so much. It doesn't take away from her own beauty. And so why would women feel guilty in any way for receiving compliment? Why?
because it's hubris, right?
Do
People
we feel
think it's
guilty giving
hubris.
it?
I give women compliments all the time.
I love that. I,
I
I
don't
gave
know
you
them
before we started, I told you your skin looks radiant, it looks flawless, it looks great. That was me complimenting you. It didn't take away from me being who I am.
exactly.
Why feel
Exactly.
guilty about that?
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's the guilt of receiving, right?
Hmm.
Because you
Hmm.
don't want to seem like you're too full of yourself.
Hmm.
So if you don't say, "Oh, really? Well, no, 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 it's a filter.
Hmm.
It's not." But
Hmm.
if,
Yeah.
you have to think of ways
Yeah.
because you don't want to sit there and go, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah.
We need to learn to say, "Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that."
Do we doubt if we deserve it?
I think a lot of people do. And that's, the conditioning that they've been around,
Hmm.
especially if they have someone in their life who isn't necessarily supportive
Hmm.
and talks down to them, insults them, you don't, what you hear, you do eventually start to believe.
Hmm.
Um, but I think a lot of it is, it's like when you're younger and you see these girls who kind of, strut like they own the place, right?
Yeah.
They're just like so confident.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I find young girls, they're like, oh, look at her. Like it's a negative thing,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
even as an adult, you're carrying that forward. You're bringing
Yes.
that with you. But I
Yes.
will walk into a store and I'll be at the mall and I'll grab something and I'll go up to the register and the person in front of me, automatically I will find something on them to compliment.
Make it a habit.
Automatically.
Yeah. Make
And
it a
I
habit.
don't know I'm doing it, but I do. And they smile and, especially when it's someone in a service role because their jobs are so hard dealing with the public all the time. But even you'll find in the coaching and mentoring realm,
Mhm.
women tend to hold each other up quite a bit, which is nice because they're in touch with that part of themselves. But
Mhm.
you do still have the occasional who will, talk smack about somebody else to make
Mhm.
themselves feel better and to make themselves look better.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of being sure of yourself and confident enough to just say, thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
And being sure of yourself and also confident enough to tell somebody that they look good. And
Mhm.
she's saying, the other saying that she was looking at your skin too and admiring your skin. That's beautiful.
Oh,
And
thank you.
according to her, she says we women are supposed to always be doing something. A woman work is never done. I think she's saying. I believe that's why we feel like that, because we feel like we always have to be doing something. So when
Mhm.
we say we're taking time to rest, we feel guilty about it. And is that narcissistic as well? She's saying could be. Could be. But I think, you said something about people when a woman walks in and she looks so stunning and confident, and other women go or young girls go, look at her, as if the space in which she is or the way she carries herself, there's something wrong with that. I don't think so. It
Oh, no,
comes
not
from
at all.
other women.
Yeah, women are the most critical of other women,
They are.
and I don't get it. I
You
mean,
don't get,
why not just
okay.
lift each other up?
In my African culture, we have a thing which is called a widowhood practice, where when a woman loses her husband, there's some of cultural practices she has to undergo, which in my opinion, and in many people's opinion today, it's a cake. Okay, let's kill it. There's no reason to say because your husband is dead, you have to sit in that little room where there's no light and only other widows can come talk to you, and then they tell you when to go take a shower, when to eat, when to come out. You have no say in the funeral plans of your husband. There's no man who enforces that. This is done
Mhm.
by other women.
Mhm.
And that is one practice which I hate to the core because I experienced it as a young widow myself, that I always feel like something has to change. And that brought me out of a space where today, if you listen to me compliment women and appreciate women, it's because I want to take myself out of that culture that says because a woman is being put down and has been done so for so many years, it's normal. It is not normal.
No.
It is not. And if you are that assertive woman who stands up and say, I want to be different, then we have to support you as women. Don't look at her like, look at her. No, do it like, look at her. I want to meet her and
Hmm.
talk with her and learn from her. So it's about time for us women to come together as a force of unity. And you said earlier, women, part of the energy is teamwork.
Yes.
We know how to do it so well, but we are these same people who know how to break apart so well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The critical aspect, the putting one person there and yourself here, that's more masculine. The masculine
Yeah,
is very individual,
I like that.
right? Whereas women, just by nature,
Hmm.
do better when they're working together.
Together. I like that. It doesn't take anything away from you if you support me as a woman. Wow.
Mhm.
Let me read a testimonial I found online that a client left about you, and I loved it so much. The client says, Kelly is a wonderful mentor. I enjoyed my weekly 1 hour Zoom session with her so much. She is such a great listener, and I felt unconditional love from her. I could be completely honest, and there was nothing I needed to hold back. She has great intuition and insight and was able to challenge me on my limiting beliefs and elevate my awareness to higher possibilities with grace. How do you bring that out in a person, Kelly? How?
I remember her and she was fantastic. You know what? In a mentorship, it is important that there is a lot of trust
Mhm.
and zero judgment,
S-
right? I have heard things, I've heard everything.
Yeah,
Nothing surprises me,
under
nothing
the
shocks
sun.
me.
Yeah. Hmm.
And it's important that people know that.
Hmm.
I am the most accepting person you will ever meet. I don't
Hmm.
care, who you are, who you love, what you do. I don't care.
Hmm.
I'm interested in you as a person.
Yeah.
And it can get quite personal. I might ask questions that are difficult
Deep.
to answer or are very personal. And you have to have that trust in that relationship in order for it to be successful.
Hmm. People love your space. It sounds like they really do love your space. Well, Kelly, it's been wonderful talking with you. I have
That
learned
was so
so
fast.
much. You see, she wants to keep going. Oh my God, that makes me feel like a wonderful hostess right here today. Thank you so much. When you're having so much fun, times go by so fast. We're talking for
I
almost
know.
1 hour. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it. And you know what? That's why I love doing these. I meet the best people, the most interesting stories. And what did we do before the internet?
I have no idea what we did for the internet. I would be talking to you right now and learning about all this spirituality and Reiki and all that stuff. But Kelly, I know that you have a website. People can always reach out to you and book a session. But in what state are you located?
I am in Ontario, Canada.
In Ontario, Canada. Yeah. Oh, wow. So you can contact Kelly at kelly.radiantfemme@gmail.com. You speak French?
No.
Okay. Femme is woman for French. You know
It
that?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like,
But
well,
I'm
I think
Canadian.
you're
And so,
Canadian.
you know, French is our second official language.
Yes, yes.
So we had to kind of
Okay.
throw that in there. And it's
Yeah.
.ca because you
Dot
have to
.ca. Yeah, I
represent.
didn't finish it up. So it's kelly.radiantfarm@gmail.com. Or is it
That's my
.ca?
email.
That's your email, yes. But your website is .ca.
Yeah, radiantfemme.ca.
Yes, I speak French. Cameroon is like Canada. So in Cameroon, we have English and French as official languages like Canada. So I'm
Okay.
blessed to have both embedded in me. So when I saw Fam, I'm like, I think she speaks French.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I let you go, Kelly, I did
Mhm.
ask you to bring a wise word or a proverb to share with us today. Do you have one?
A wise word would be always expect better from yourself while helping others achieve the same.
Wow. Can you repeat that? That is so beautiful.
Always expect better from yourself while helping others achieve the same.
By helping, not expecting, helping others achieve the same. That
Mhm.
is so inspirational. Kelly, thank you so much for accepting to be my guest on Talk to Me Africa. And I hope that we can reconnect again.
I would love that.
So, yes, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you to everyone online who participated. Thank you, Deirdre. She says thank you both. And I'll
Oh,
be
you're
back next
welcome.
time. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you.
You.
Bye bye.